Training zones set the framework of intensity that guide you to achieving performance adaptations. Measured in power, heart rate, pace, or rate of perceived effort, they will help you train at the right intensity, easy, moderate, or hard. The purpose of following training zone details is to align your objective measurement with subjective descriptions and workout intent. I like to use a heart rate monitor whatever I'm doing, biking or running or other sports. I actually got my first heart rate monitor when I started triathlons in 1992, and I didn't know anything about it. I just liked wearing the strap. I monitored it with my watch, and I wore it all day long, and I thought it was fun to see how my heart rate varied throughout the day. And then while running and biking, I would go as hard as I could and just to see how high I could get my heart rate. It actually took me a few years before I realized that I could actually set training zones and use those training zones to do various types of work such as endurance, threshold, or speed work just by following my heart rate monitor zones based on a field test. One benefit of using a heart rate monitor strap or measuring your heart rate from your wrist is you can use that heart rate to correlate whatever your given pace or power is for the workout. So if the training details are specific to pace, you can monitor your heart rate, see where your heart rate is at that pace. Or if the training details are specific to power, you can monitor your heart rate and see generally what kind of heart rate produces what kind of power. So if you're in a race and for some reason your pace isn't working or your power meter isn't working, but your heart rate is, it'll give you a little bit more information to follow if you're not quite comfortable following the rate of perceived effort at a given pace or power. There are some factors that do limit the ability to have good readings from your heart rate monitor. Those include weather, such as extremely hot conditions will usually raise your heart rate. Altitude, high altitude, low altitude, your heart rate's going to be different. Nutrition, if you're extremely dehydrated, your heart rate's going to be high. If you're glycogen depleted, your heart rate's going to have higher readings. If you're in various phases of your menstrual cycle, that may have an impact on your heart rate. And just general high fatigue, high stress is going to elevate your heart rate. Also note that if you're going to monitor intensity using a heart rate monitor, there is a lag time for when you start the workout to get your heart rate up to the zone that it's intended for, as well as there could be some lag time to get your heart rate down to a recovery zone. So if you're doing an interval workout where you're trying to target 160 beats during the period of the hard part of the interval, it's going to take, maybe 20-30 seconds to get there, and then you want to sustain it. And then when you start your recovery period, maybe you're doing 3 minutes hard, 3 minutes easy, it's going to take a little bit time for that recovery heart rate to come down. Compared to using power, and they do make power meters for running. I actually own a Stride power meter. While you're running, as soon as you're going hard, the power is going to show. As soon as you back off, the power is going to decrease. So there's no lag time with power because it's a more precise absolute measure of workload relative to the heart rate monitor. And again, if you're training by pace and heart rate, you want to take note that certain terrain, hills, downhills, flat, are going to vary your pace and in return vary your heart rate. As you're running up the hill, your heart rate is going to gradually increase if your pace increases, and then the same thing with downhill. If you're wearing a power meter while you're running, you're going to be able to sustain that workload whether you're going uphill, downhill, or in the flat sections. If you decide to use heart rate, it's important that you precisely set your heart rate zones by doing a lab test or a field test. I've detailed the field test that I like to use, and it's just generally a 5K time trial run. You take a percentage of your 5K, that's your threshold heart rate. From there you can calculate your other zones. I like to use a 5-zone scale, and you want to make sure you keep those zones consistent. If you're using a Training Peaks platform to monitor the training details of your program, then you want to make sure those threshold heart rates, paces, or power are definitely updated in your Training Peaks profile so they can continually The Training Peaks will continually help you monitor whether you have threshold changes within a given workout or not. I find that a wrist strap monitoring my heart rate isn't that accurate. Not a wrist strap, but monitoring my heart rate in my wrist is not that accurate. I still like to use the strap if I'm going to use heart rate as a gauge to monitor the intensity of my training. And it's also important to note that when you do these tests, your threshold heart rate on the bike is going to be a little bit lower than your threshold heart rate on the run. Your threshold heart rate in the swim is going to be different than your threshold heart rate on the bike and run due to being vertical, horizontal. Swimming uses smaller muscle groups. Running and biking use large muscle groups. So make sure you set your zones according to your sport. They are personal to you, and they will provide very good feedback as you progress through the training plan.